You're listening to Opera Box Score.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Wherever you are, however you're listening, it's America's talk radio show about opera. It's Opera Box Score. I'm Weston Williams, joined by Oliver Camacho and Matt Cummings. All right, this week, Jeanine De Bique goes inside the huddle. The Trinidadian soprano is on her way to the U.S. for a recital tour, including stops in New York and Chicago, before making her subscription series debut with the Chicago Symphony Chorus and Orchestra in Mozart's Requiem. And then we reach into the listener mailbag for a report on the Mets' Don Giovanni from our good friend PJ. Plus, in the 2-minute drill, saluting the American flag is now compulsory at the Kennedy Center, and Opera America is great again after naming its new president. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast on Spotify, click follow on Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign. You can also stream episodes of OBS every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central at amplisoundsradio.com. Email us your hot takes by writing to mailbag@operaboxscore.com or upload a voice memo using the You Got Something to Say tab on our website, operaboxscore.com. However you contribute, you'll get an OBS beer coaster, an OBS lapel pin, and a #1 OBS fan foam finger just for sharing your own hot take. And Oliver's in the house. I'm ready for a hot take, and it's probably going to be about tennis again.
Well, it is really the end of the season, like really, really the end of the season. There's not
so
really
close
much.
I can taste it.
I
Oliver.
know there's not much tennis happening in December, but there is this Paris Masters which just concluded, and Carlos Alcaraz eliminated in the first round. So strange. He just was completely out of form. But he still will be in the ATP finals, the top 8 of the season, vie for player of the year. I mean, obviously it's going to be between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. I'll be watching with bated breath. Sorry, Carlos. Congratulations, Jannik Sinner, for winning Paris.
Matt Cummings, are there any sports seasons that you are glad are almost over?
Well, no almost about the fact that baseball season is over, which, I mean, when the Cubs got eliminated a little while ago, that did make it safe to go to Wrigleyville again and not have to worry about just hordes of people stampeding us. But I was greeted on my social media feeds on Saturday when I got home from seeing you lovely gentlemen in the flesh to posts and posts about how exciting the overtime game was. But surely the extra innings cannot compare to how exciting the prima of Kevin Pag could be.
That's right. We, all three of us, at the same time, maybe the first time all three of us have been there at the same time, were there for the opening night of Cavaliere Rusticana and Pagliacci at Lyric Opera of Chicago. And I'm sure we all have opinions. So let's start with the persons whose opinions are usually the most acerbic. Oliver Camacho.
I think it was a win for the tenors.
Oh, definitely.
I agree.
Yeah. Both of these tenor roles are pretty iconic. Obviously, Canio in Pagliacci is the more difficult of the two because it's basically a scream fest for the poor guy. And our friend of the show, Russell Thomas, really delivered
He killed it.
A technically intelligent and also dramatic performance. I mean, the thing is that Lyric Opera Orchestra and Lyric Opera House are gigantic.
Yeah.
And it's so easy for the orchestra to cover the singers in any repertoire, even like when they do Handel, you know?
And they were running pretty hot on Saturday night. It was a very luxurious orchestral sound, but at those climaxes, like they were taking no prisoners.
Yeah, a friend of the show, Enrique Mazzola, did not hold back, especially in the big dramatic moments of Pagliacci. And Russell Thomas, in a very technically sound way, really delivered, and I was impressed by that. I was introduced to the tenor who sang Turidu, Seok Jong Baek.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like I heard him somewhere else. I just didn't write his name down and remember it, but I will not forget him because, especially just like in the more like passionate and like heart on your sleeve Italian moments, you know, like the Siciliana at the beginning of the opera. He sounded so Italianate, like very sunny, you know, very lots of core in the high notes. It wasn't like a head dominated sound. It was like really, really like chesty sounding high notes. And great Italianate phrasing. It was something. I was really, really happy about hearing him. Quinn Kelsey was the only singer to be in both shows, and his prologue in Pagliacci was top shelf.
Yeah.
You can tell that that's been his audition aria for quite some time now. He was very comfortable.
Yeah. And I'll leave that there. And I'm very happy for Lauren Decker, who is a local girl gone good. She grew up in Wisconsin, and she was a Rhine Opera Center. She is an Rhine Opera Center alum, and now she's back as a principal artist singing Mama Lucia. I'll leave that there. I feel like I've said enough about this show. You guys?
Well, I mean, we haven't yet talked about the two leading ladies. In Cavalleria Rusticana, we had the Russian mezzo-soprano Yulia Matochkina, who has a really impressive and beautiful tone quality. Mm-hmm. It did seem like she was having a little bit of an off night. A lot of the very highest notes got a little bit buried, and the staging was I found it to be kind of brutal how much they had to not face the audience, especially in the big moments of that duet where you have 94 violins sawing away, and then to have you need as much of your face facing out to the audience as you can get in that hall.
Well, I have a little insight on that. Yulia Matochkina, and I can't really say my source, but she wasn't there for the staging rehearsals. She came very late into the production.
Oh, interesting.
Through no fault of her own.
Yeah.
So I would say that she was probably doing her own blocking.
The production, especially for Cavalleria Rusticana, I feel like I agree with you, Matt. There was a lot of decisions made to have people face in kind of strange directions, particularly the chorus. It's such a chorus-heavy piece, and making sure that everyone is in line and keeping up is a real challenge, especially in a production like this, which felt very kind of, I don't know who did the production. I don't have the program in front of me, but it felt like an ancient production.
It was an old revival of an Elijah Moshinsky.
Okay.
Production with a new stage, or not new staging, but a revival director who helped put it on its feet.
Yeah, it felt like it. And then, I have, shock. I'm the one who wants all the weird Reggie direction stuff. But at the same time, I admit Cavalleria Rusticana is maybe the hardest opera to pull in a Reggie direction, just because it's, it is so specifically of its time and place.
The whole thing is about the time and place and the social mores thereof.
Exactly. It's very hard to do that. So I don't want to hate on it too much, especially since the performances, I think, were universally delightful.
The two names that we haven't quite gotten to yet would be Gabrielle Reyes as Nedda, who I thought had just a really luxurious and creamy sound that she doled out extremely generously to the audience in a staging that required a good amount of commitment, and she was also the two smaller male parts in that opera, the Beppe of Daniel Luis Espinal and Silvio of Luke Sutcliffe, I thought both acquitted themselves really, really well and made a strong impression.
Yeah, Luke Sutcliffe was the replacement, or the understudy for Rolando Villazón in that weird Orfeo in Santa Fe a couple of years ago, which was orchestrated by Nico Muhly. And then I think I heard him as Belcore in Elixir of Love the following season. He's up and coming, and I'm very happy for his lyric debut. And Daniel Espinal is a Rhine Opera Center and is going to be just fine. When he's done doing his apprenticeship here, he's already, I'm sure, got gigs lined up. I always love that the program does list a woman for the Cavalleria Rusticana scream at the end. Well, what is that? Something Kill Torito, or Alfio Kill Torito, but in Italian, just shouted at the top of her lungs, so.
All things considered, I think it's a pretty solid recommendation for me. Fun fact, this is my very first Cav Pag. I've seen each individually. But for some reason, when I saw Pagliacci, it was paired with Suor Angelica for some reason.
Nuns and Clowns, a classic pairing.
It really was a Halloween-themed sort of event. And I don't remember what the the cav was paired with back in the day. But when I was growing up, my father had a fear of clowns, so we never saw Pagliacci, and as a consequence, it took me a very long time to see Cavalleria Rusticana. But, now that I've done it, I can say I faced my fears, and I had a great time. Let's talk some opera.
Huddle up. Let's go inside the huddle.
Next Friday in Chicago, Jeanine De Bique and pianist Aaron Weinberg will give a recital at Northeastern Illinois University. It's a late afternoon recital, like 5 p.m., followed by a public masterclass. I asked Jeanine De Bique about this sort of weird start time. She's like, no, it's perfect for me because I'm coming from Europe and like it's late for me. But then 2 days later, on November 16th, I believe she's giving the same recital in New York at Riverside Church. The program is called Silent Stories. In public and private spaces where their voices are silent, composers and librettists find ways to persist and resist. Soprano Jeanine De Bique captures and decodes their journeys in a vocal recital that celebrates the power of expression and invites audiences to courageously allow their own voices to be heard. Is it a sing-along? And then the following week, Jeanine will be making her Chicago Symphony Orchestra subscription series debut. She's already sung with the orchestra at Ravinia Festival, but she will be the soprano soloist for the Manfred Hollnick version of the Mozart Requiem, which includes bonus music by Mozart. We've talked about Jeanine De Bique many times on this show. I remember during the pandemic, we talked about her like perfect social media video of her singing V'adoro Pupille in a graffiti-lined alley or something like that. And in fact, that's what we will listen to going into the interview. In the middle of the interview, we will hear a little bit of the insert music that was added to a Clemente di Tito production at Dutch National Opera, staged by Peter Sellers and conducted by Theodor Korensis. And there's a weird moment in the interview where Jeanine stops talking, and I think you just have to imagine that she is like looking at her phone and switching the camera to the back camera so she could show me a picture of where she lives and the road where she runs and sort of like the highway overpass or like the overpass where she recorded that famous V'adoro Pupille video. So there's a weird moment where it's like, what's happening here? That's Jeanine showing me out her window, which is not great for a podcast, but you have to use your imagination. Welcome to Opera Box Score. I am so thrilled to get to talk to you. There are so many topics that we could go over, but I want to carry over a conversation that we had for our interview on my other job. This idea of you being, to me, one of the foremost interpreters of Baroque repertoire, Baroque opera, and yet you don't have that many contracts singing Cleopatra, for example. Have you sat down with that idea or that circumstance and tried to figure out what is the obstacle to you getting hired? Because I would, if I had power, you'd have the job.
I think there's a number of factors. One of the major factors is that I've heard that Baroque music is still kind of a stigma to perform in these in major houses. It's not the audience pleaser. We're still fighting with the length of the operas, as that being a reason as to why they're not doing it anymore. I heard that in America predominantly, because in Europe is so vastly open to Baroque music, and I feel like that has been the ongoing thing. A repetitive thing that I've been hearing in terms of the repertoire actually itself being in competition with other composers, bel canto and even neoclassical and classical and more romantic genres. And it's a pretty sad notion for me, because I sincerely think that as a singer, when you sing Baroque music and then even earlier music, Renaissance music, Baroque music, and then you get into Mozart, these genres really inform a singer's voice for singing, for moving to the next step. You rarely find that somebody who has started off singing let's say the heavier repertoire, being able to switch back and go back to Baroque or Mozart. It's very rare that you have those singers that are able to do that. There's a part of me inside of my heart that feels that there is another reason that I can't put my finger on it, and I can't direct it and say, yeah, that's the reason, because it's a sort of a microaggression, and microaggressions are really, really hard to prove.
Yeah.
Right. So if I were to, we all know that I'm a Black female in this business and in a genre that is predominantly from another culture, another region, another demographic. And so therefore I am, I'm trying to chip away in that genre to say, hey, I exist as well, and I can do this. I promise you're not going to regret this, and the audiences are game for it and they're ready for it. But it's convincing those people that are, they're a little bit stuck. And I don't blame them, but they're a little bit stuck in what they are convinced this music should sound like. And the music coming out of me just does not somehow correlate for them to fit. They're struggling with me, putting me into a box of what I should be singing, or based on how I look, what I should be singing based on the timbre of my voice, and the list goes on.
Oh.
So, yeah.
There's so many things that you brought up that I want to say, but I'm going to first add that your voice is not a blanche voice. Your voice has color. And I think people might be afraid of how much color is in your voice. It's so exciting for the audience, especially in Handel, where I don't want a blanche sound. I want a full-throated, up and down overtones, undertones, richness. That's, to me, thrilling singing. It's bel canto. The other thing is that Dido, the character, is African. Cleopatra is Egyptian. So this is a woman of color. Like, when you see those old videos of like Beverly Sills, putting on drag as an Egyptian, it's a little bit of, sketchy in 2025, even though I adore Beverly Hills. Not her fault, But to get back to the topic that we can actually talk about and think about is that something you started by saying how your work in early music informs your other repertoire. And I'm so glad you said that, because I find that the singers who understand rhetoric, the singers that understand what they need to do as a singer to make this music work, because it doesn't come off the page. When you look at a Baroque opera score, it's not obvious how to make that music exciting. Yes, rhythm takes care of a lot of things, but there's so much opportunity for the singer to put their personality, put their stamp on this music, because it's so sparse. And if you can take that skill and apply it to your Mozart or apply it to your Verdi, to me, those are the thrilling, really, really thrilling performances when I get that the singer has rhetorical skill, which clearly you do. I wish I could have heard your Agathe. I wish I could have heard your Violetta in preparing those roles. Do you remember working on any of those rhetorical skills?
Well, yes. Agathe was, both Agathe and Traviata and Violetta. Agathe is really one of my favorite roles to work on, simply because, and I'll say this, like, I know that there are singers' voices who simply, for them in their spirit, they're unable to grasp the the idea of not only singing Baroque music and earlier music, but their instruments just simply can't do that, and that's fair. That's really, really fair. I But luckily for a voice type like mine that is light lyrical sopranos like myself, we're able to maneuver back and forth, and we can do that really healthily with our true voice. But roles like Agata and Traviata, luckily for us, I really don't think that there's any one specific type soprano that needs to sing any of those roles, because uh, given the orchestration that Verdi had back in his time, it was very small. It wasn't huge, and he also was a singer, and also Violetta. I mean, everyone knows that it's basically like three or four sopranos in one character. So for me, she's such a character, much more than she is this one voice type that is singing this. And if you are able to to get through the coloratura, to get through the youth that she is in the beginning, then slowly go through the demise of health in the character of your voice, then you've mastered that. The same with Agata. Agatha comes, Weber is close to Mozart, and when Maestro Eschenbach hired me for this specifically, he said, I hired you specifically for this because he knew that what I had to offer energetically was going to work. He told me that he saw a video of me doing the Vadoro Pupile in front of this viral video that went viral in front of the graffiti wall. He also heard me sing the Kyrie at Salzburg Festival on
Peter Sellers,
video.
yeah.
And yeah, and you imagine that these are both very quiet, personally reflective pieces. It wasn't fireworks. It wasn't big throttle singing or anything like that. It was just characters of beautiful sound, according to them. I do say so myself. So, and that is what garnered his attention to me to try it. And then he said, this. He just told me very specifically, this is what's needed for this role. And that was it. So I had a great time preparing that role with him. And once I knew that the voice was ideal for him and what he wanted, the only things that I needed to work on were style, language, that sort of thing, so the voice was, let's just say, one half of the job was already fine. I needed to work on the other stuff, and that made me very secure in doing roles like that. The same with Violetta.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that, to me, I think, is one of the defining characteristics of your presentation, your brand, is the comfort you seem to have in quiet. In the Kyrie that Peter Sellers inserted into, was it Clemenza di Tito? Yeah. So you sang Anio, and he added an extra musical moment, the Great Mass in C minor Kyrie with chorus, which is stunning. And there's a video of that, and I actually shared it with audiences on my other job. I made a web story about it, just about your stillness and the courage you have to sing when there is silence. And obviously the silence is written in the score, but there is this extra thing that we have to do to wait for the silence and to not be afraid for there to be silence, and then to put your voice in that. It's in the score. And so people are thinking, Oliver, what are you talking about? Everybody has to do that. No, not everybody can actually do it. They rush it, or there's like just this sensation that like, I can't deal with the silence. Let me just start singing right away, like even if they're observing the rest, there is this fear that you can hear, but you seem to really enjoy that risky moment.
And I have to say that I learned how to be comfortable with that in a short space of time working with Theodore Karensis and Peter on that. Because based on what we were all trying to say in that production, the silence was needed. It just was. Otherwise, it's just that there's so much noise in the world. Everybody's talking, but nobody's acting, right? No, there's let's just say, okay, not nobody's acting, but there isn't enough action based on the things that people say. So, or at some point, there is too much action based on what people say. So there just needs to be more meditation happening. And it was a sincere meditative moment each night with that piece, not only for myself, but also for the chorus. I mean, the chorus it was amazing. The way that they also taught me how to keep the silence as well amongst the noise. So yeah, I learned that especially from them, and I've been trying it's quite interesting when you try to take that notion onto different projects and the resistance that you get from other musicians about it, because they think, no, the audience is going to get, they're going to want to move on, or they want to going to clap, and I'm saying, no, but you have to teach them. And that's okay. It's fine to teach them. Because sometimes giving them something different is a good thing. It's not a bad thing, giving them something to think about rather than, okay, we're in the society where everything is get, go, and go now. We're on our phones, we're on the computer, we have so much access immediately to things. This is the one time where you actually get to think.
Oh, it's very powerful. I do some coaching, and I have some singers who I just say, just wait. Can you just wait until you hear the sound of
the overtones?
Of the or the air conditioner, or hear the light. Like wait until you something, then you can sing.
Can we wait till will you hear the heater like? Can you just wait till that, or that the siren that's outside from a police car like breaks that sound? Can you just wait? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they can't. It's like they're so like, no, I can't. I gotta sing. So no, it's interesting. But I love that that Kyrie video really does show that, and also the Vadoro Pupile. Even though there's there's so much amazing resonance happening. I don't know how you found that acoustic for that. Was it a phone video? I don't know who took that video. It's incredible. The Vadoro in front of the graffiti.
Yeah. That, I mean, it's basically we're in a kind of an underpass.
Okay.
Because all that's surrounded there are fields with cows. It's in Switzerland, and this is it's just only where the farmer can like drive over to get to the next field. So there's no traffic in that area. The train isn't passing directly there, and also at that time, remember, we were during the pandemic, so not a lot of train activity was happening, and nobody was driving a car. So
yeah,
we were pretty lucky.
I mean, that video was exquisite, and I just remember my friend who's a stage director. Maybe probably will have worked with him, or maybe we'll be working with him. He said, this is perfect. Like this is a woman who understands her brand and who understands how to use the media, and I agree. It was really perfect. So whoever came up with that idea and the camera angle and
it was all me. I mean, I had to tell my friend, please stand here, move there, but like I was running there almost every other day to go, because we have a big lake, and I was just running down there. And one day I just ran there and I was tired. I stopped, and then I started just humming to myself and realized, ooh, I started snapping, and I was like, oh, this is a really nice acoustic. I can come down here and study or something. And the next day I went and I thought, the idea just came to me, like, let me just record something really nice. Speaking of which, you should like see this. This is where I'm talking about. How do I do that?
Are you trying to share your screen?
There we go. Like
Oh, wow.
that's so it's like those fields down there is where I was like running.
Okay.
And you see where that, well, over there, that's a major road that's there, but that's not as far as I want. But the cave is like just underneath there.
Hmm.
And I would run from here all the way down to the lake. And those are the Alp mountains, and that's interlocking, like all the way at the end of the lake.
I interviewed Florian Sampé recently, and he said something that I really appreciated. We were at Santa Fe, and he said, when you're surrounded by, this type of beauty, how could you not want to sing beautifully? Like, how could you not, how being in an atmosphere like that inspires artists to think about beauty all the time because you're surrounded by it, So it's just part of your aesthetic, and I think that we miss so much in everyday life, looking at things that are beautiful. And so how can we, inspire ourselves? How can we, activate our own understanding of beauty if we're not looking at it,
I mean, it was very difficult for me when we came out of the pandemic to then go back into society in a very busy life. I just was struggling with people not slowing down and wanting attention all the time. Social media, as much as I am deeply involved in it and I do it myself, the people telling me, oh, you have to post every day, and oh, you have to share your thoughts every day if you want to get the numbers up. And I said, but I don't care about the numbers. The people that want to follow me will follow me, and the people that want to like me will like me. And to be also fair, not everybody that likes your profile actually likes you. That's the other thing. There are people who like you because they press like so that they can be informed about what it is that you're doing, but they're not necessarily there because they like you. So you have to also be careful of that. You have to protect yourself. But I did struggle because I was here in the mountains for that long, and I come here periodically, and I do have that moment of release, but it also makes me quite sad knowing that I'm leaving this filled with so much beauty and love and joy. And I come to some engagements super excited to give heart, and then they can really tear you down. And then you really have to find within yourself to protect from that toxicity sometimes.
A performance from Bayreuth Baroque of an aria from Ground's Cleopatra e Cesare, which is one of the arias that is included on her solo debut album Mirrors, performed with Concerto Köln.
Bayreuth Baroque. What else are they doing in that city? I love Jeanine De Bique. I'm so excited we were able to get her.
She's so open, and I don't know if you sense that, like, her mood completely shifted in that conversation. And it also shifted a few times in the longer conversation I had with her for my other job. I just feel like she has access to her emotions that they're just right there at the surface, which really makes her makes her a thrilling performer because she could just like, yep, right now I need that. So I'm going to grab that, you know?
Well, if you like being thrilled by various emotional shifts, you can subscribe to our podcast. We have emotions too. We have feelings also, Oliver. Subscribe to our podcast on Spotify. Click follow. On Apple Podcasts, hit the plus sign. Find a friend. Let them know that they should be listening to us if they're not already. Let's reach into the listener mailbag.
Yeah, you got something to say? Then yeah, all right, you can say something. This is Listener Mailbag.
Hello, Opera Box Score. This is PJ. Standing next to a bust of the great Enrico Caruso on the lower levels of the Metropolitan Opera. It's intermission at Don Giovanni on a Saturday afternoon. I see all of the headshots of all of the singers, just like you have in your gallery on operaboxscore.com. It's Don Giovanni. Mozart is the hero. It's like coming home to see this production. But I will say that we've got a terrific cast. Leporello is Adam Placertka, fantastic. Donna Anna, Kathleen O'Mara, Ryan Speedo Green is owning this role. He's just devilish and scary and wonderful. That voice is just maturing and getting better and better every season. Adam Palka is our commendatore. We'll see a lot more of him later. Wow, Ben Bliss, Don Ottavio, just clarion voice, really love it. Janai Brugger, Chicago, represent, fabulous voice. And I really have to say, we're all in love with Hera Haesung Park. Hera Haesung Park owns this Zerlina role. She is really, really good. Very sexy, very cute, all over the place, and that voice is just a standout voice. And Masetto, William Guambo Su, is also spectacular. It's a stark set, not a lot to see, and yet they're using it well. It's monochrome really across the board until they do add some color in certain situations. It's like an apartment complex of bad, 70s Italian architecture, to be truthful. It's so much fun to be here. It's great to report back to you. Let's hope this is the beginning of a very rich opera season, and I'll report back whenever I do visit the Metropolitan Opera. Look for a field report from me again soon.
Well, first of all, let me say, what a stacked cast over there.
Yeah, truly, really strong across the board.
We'll have to get them over here for our own Don Giovanni, so we don't have to... Sometimes I feel like there's almost like this strange, like, semi-rivalry that exists between the Lyric and the Met. Is that completely in my head?
I think it's just because you went to see Medea.
Yeah,
that
maybe.
was premiered at the Met.
I mean, you might get what you asked for because... the Lyric Opera is going to be doing Don Giovanni next year. They haven't announced their season yet, but they did.
You heard it here first.
I know. Well, in the press event last year for this season announcement, they said outright that they're doing the Da Ponte trilogy. So it makes sense that we're getting Don Giovanni next year. And I can't imagine them casting somebody besides Speedo. He needs to make his Lyric Opera debut, and that'd be a great vehicle for him. I think it'll be his third production of Don Giovanni. I was happy to be there for his role debut at Santa Fe. And we love hearing about Janai Brugger, our hometown girl. Mm-hmm. And I can't wait. If they get Hera Haesung Park and they bring her to Chicago, that would be great. I'm excited for Chicago audiences to experience her witchery. She's like
witchery.
Yeah, she's sort of magical. She's one of those performers that just like you can't take your eyes off of her. She's like a very unique performer. And it's sort of hard to categorize what it is that she does. She sings very well, but there's something about her, like her presence and her performance. It's just, she's so weird in a really wonderful way.
I mean, it sounds like you're having a little bit of a spooktacular hangover, if I'm being honest, Oliver, but, I'm on board for what you're selling.
Yeah.
It's, we're getting kind of close to the end of the episode, and I'm getting a little scared. So I think we're going to have to start the 2-minute drill.
Okay.
This just in, the 2-minute drill.
All right, listen up. Here's everything you need to know about what happened in Operaland this week.
9 months after Donald Trump made himself chair of the Kennedy Center, ticket sales are the worst they've been in years. Since September, a typical production has 43% of its capacity available, significantly up from the past few seasons. This downturn isn't just about pricing or programming. It feels directly tied to the new regime's leadership shift and the broader political climate, said a staff member, speaking anonymously for fear of reprisal. I've heard from ticket buyers who say they are choosing not to attend because of what the Kennedy Center now represents.
Focusing on what really matters, the National Symphony Orchestra will open all its concerts this season by performing the Star-Spangled Banner. People were really moved by the season opening performance of the anthem, so we thought, why not play it at every performance, said NSO Executive Director Gene Davidson. We are the orchestra in the nation's capital, and we are about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation. At least we can all be sure they're not taking their eye off the ball.
As the government shutdown enters its second month and the Trump administration allows SNAP benefits to lapse, Met chorister and AGMA president Ned Hanlon wrote about the importance of the program to him as a young singer. SNAP allowed us to continue eating healthy food and to stay financially afloat while we worked toward establishing our careers. It gave us something invaluable, too, time. Time to build sustainable lives in the arts rather than abandon them for something else.
Opera Colorado is launching a Pay What You Wish ticket program following its success for selected performances last season. Tickets start at a minimum of $1 with a suggested price of $25. Opera belongs to everyone. By offering Pay What You Wish at every performance, we're ensuring that anyone, no matter someone's financial situation, can experience the beauty, drama, and connection that live opera brings to our community, said General Director and CEO Barbara Lynn Jameson.
The Brazilian government has proposed a ban on trade for Pernambuco wood, a species of tree native to the country. Unfortunately for many musicians, it's also a popular wood for making bows, and the ban would require traveling musicians to apply for and carry permits when performing. An open letter signed by the likes of Renaud Capuçon, Gauthier Capuçon, Guidon Kramer, Susanna Melki, Augustin Hadlick, and friend of the show Klaus Mekela demands that the ban not go forward. Permanently cut off from access to the raw material, which is currently irreplaceable, the remaining bowmakers, heirs to a unique trade, could disappear for good within a few years, they argued.
In major awards news, the Renata Tebaldi International Voice Competition has announced its 2025 winners. Uruguayan countertenor Maximiliano Danta received first prize as well as the Critics' Prize. Second place went to Czech countertenor Wojciech Pelka, who also received the Audience Prize. And Armenian soprano Arpi Sinanyan won the Soroptimist Club Prize.
Other winners this week include New Zealand-born soprano Madison Nonoa, who received the Dame Heather Begg Memorial Award. Meanwhile, German mezzo Doris Soffel was given the Order of Merit of the Federal Republic of Germany for her extraordinary contributions to German and international opera. Finally, Czech conductor Jakub Hruša has received the Medal of Merit in the Field of Arts from Czech President Petr Pavel.
In trade news, Opera America has appointed Michael J. Bobbitt to be the organization's president and CEO. The playwright, director, and choreographer assumes the new role on January 1st, succeeding Mark Skorka.
Exit stage right, Dutch mezzo-soprano Kaya Boris has died at 77. Boris was known for her work as an ensemble member for Deutscher Oper Berlin beginning in 1971, including performances as Filipievna in Tchaikovsky's Eugene Onegin, from Marta Schwertlein in Gounod's Faust, Azucena in Il Trovatore, and Erda in Wagner's Ring Cycle. She retired from the stage in 2002.
And on this day, November 3rd, birthdays include Italian composer Vincenzo Bellini, born in Sicily in 1801. In 1815, it was the birth of French composer Adrien Louis-Victor Boieldieu in Paris. German composer Siegfried Garibaldi Kallenberg was born in Lindau in 1867, and on that same day in 1867, American baritone William Wade Hinshaw was born. He founded the Hinshaw School of Opera in Chicago, which was later incorporated into the Chicago Conservatory, and he founded the International Grand Opera Company of Chicago.
Some premieres. In 1662 was the first performance of Giovanni Andrea Bontempi's Il Paride in Musica in Dresden. Christoph Willibald von Gluck's opera Paride ed Elena premiered in Vienna in 1770. 1801 saw the first performance of Gaspare Spontini's Diamanti in Cimento, Sia il geloso audace in Rome. Gioacchino Rossini's La Cambiale in Matrimonio premiered in Venice in 1810. 1841 saw the first performance of Achille Grafigna's Il Degondo e Rizzardo at La Scala. Giuseppe Verdi's opera I Due Foscari, or The Two Foscari, premiered in Rome in 1844. 1875 saw the first performance of Offenbach's Le Créole in Paris, and that same composer's work La Boîte aux Lettres premiered the next year, 1876. 1913 saw the premiere of Rudolf Fremmel's operetta Hijinks, which ensued in Syracuse. Leo Fall's Der Heilige Ambrosius premiered in Berlin in 1921. Walter Damrosch's The Opera Cloak, which is not to be confused with Il Tabarro, premiered at New York Opera Company in 1942. And in 1946, Sergei Prokofiev's opera Betrothal in a Monastery premiered in then Leningrad, now St. Petersburg.
And that's your 2-minute drill.
A little bit of Hall of Fame member par excellence Agnes Balza singing Se Romeo tu cisse un figlio from the Bellini version of Romeo and Juliet I Capuletti di Montecchi. That's a live recording from the Vienna State Opera in 1977, where she was just a young slip of a thing and sounds unbelievable.
Remember, we are still in hashtag Balsa90. She'll be 91 on November 19th. I'm still hoping she would come on our show and talk to us. But I can't get over how much I love her singing. And
just need to tell her how many times she won Hall of Fame, the TKOs. She wins every time.
Yeah.
How could she not?
She's the best.
She's going to bring it.
Who else is going to bring it? And by it, I mean the Star Spangled Banner is the National Symphony Orchestra. Man, what a time. Okay, so the National Symphony Orchestra is not necessarily under the control of the Kennedy Center, but man,
they do seem to be they know who butters their bread right now.
Yeah. I think that this is really what was it last week, 2 weeks ago, where we heard from
Francesca Zambello,
yes, emphasizing that, Washington National Opera is not the same organization, it's hurting them to boycott. But then, I just wish that, people who don't want to be boycotted are a little bit more maybe conscious of the optics of saying, let's just do the Star Spangled Banner for every single performance.
And I mean, that's coming at a time when they can't even sell out concerts for an evening of Beethoven.
Yeah.
And the Sound of Music at Kennedy Center is like, at least it has a third of its seats unsold. People don't want to go there right now. I mean, it's also, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is because of the politics. I mean, I'm sure they don't help, but it could also be like a pretty bad warning sign just about like where people's personal finances are right now with how expensive everything is getting and how much help is seemingly curtailed.
Yeah, that's a good lead in too, I think, to this story about SNAP benefits.
It was a blog post on the AFL-CIO website from Ned Hanlon, who's the president of AGMA, right, and has been in the Met Chorus for quite some time at this point. Yeah. A bit of a little personal testimonial as to the importance of SNAP benefit.
Yeah, and we've talked about this kind of thing before. I mean, this is the problem with working full-time as a singer. It requires you to be extraordinarily talented extraordinarily lucky and or extraordinarily wealthy independently of your job. It is a difficult for any artist, really. There is a certain amount that, needs to be filled in by the government, whether it's through, government programs just simply subsidizing performances, but also on the individual level. Things like SNAP benefits are really essential. And I think that we're recording this on Monday, November 3rd. So, assuming things stay the way they are for another few weeks, we're going to see this play out among a bunch of industries and several people who are, no longer getting the food they need simply to survive. And even people who, like, you might think are doing just fine aren't necessarily doing just fine. And if you believe in the arts, you should believe in, of course, those SNAP benefits still going out, but also, you should believe in keeping the Obamacare premiums down as well. I should caution to, I should mention that as well. It's a kind of a rough time for a lot of people.
And it might be about to be a rough time for any string players.
It is true. This is a fascinating story to me for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, Pernambuco wood, I have learned, it's endemic to Brazil, which means I believe it only exists in Brazil. It is endangered. It can only be found there. That means that there needs to be, some sort of regulation to make sure it doesn't get, imported and chopped down improperly. Makes sense. The problem is that apparently this is the secret sauce for violin bows that I was not aware of until today, that this is an essential part of the bow making process. And it makes sense, right? When you're talking about acoustic instruments, in particular violins and cellos and things like that, you have to have very particular kinds of wood to provide very particular kinds of sound. You think of, even like Stradivarius violins going for absurd amounts of money, 300 years later. Some of it's hype, some of it's not, right? Some of it is truly, that's the kind of craftsmanship the sound that you expect, when you play the violin, that was made the standard was set during a time when, the colonial European powers had access to all these vast resources that, as climates change, as, populations develop, these things go away. And there's also other woods that are used that are also mentioned in this petition that are woods that come from Africa. A couple of countries that export it that are, exportions, that's not a word. Exporting is becoming more and more rare, and it's harder and harder to find these things. And it does give you some insight into, oh, wait, is that why instruments are so expensive? This is an interesting question, especially when we talk about sustainability and opera. We're in such an international field where opera singers are flying from place to place. Orchestras are flying from place to place. Sets have to be constructed that, will only be used once or only for a purpose that is maybe not necessarily the most, useful from a completely material perspective. The most useful use of resources might not be for a set for, Don Giovanni or whatever. But at the same time, there is a certain value to art that, is like, it's worth some waste. The question is, in this world where we have a lot of climate change and things like that, where is that threshold?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is that, like, Brazil is not known per se for protecting its rainforests.
Yeah, which is part of the point they make in this letter. They do also say that maybe this wouldn't be an issue if the Brazilian government took more of a active role in protecting the trees that currently exist and, expanding their habitat and not, encroaching on it. It's all about management, right? It's not necessarily about banning.
The petition does say that they are, concerned about the environment. I'm going to read directly from the petition.
Yeah.
We musicians, along with the instrument makers, are fully aware of the major environmental challenges facing our society and the urgency of addressing them. We also firmly believe that culture, in the broad sense, must remain a central issue, and that these two priorities are not contradictory but complementary. Instrument making is a virtuous sector, using only minimal amounts of wood to produce high-value cultural objects. These instruments, such as bows, can last for decades or even centuries, making them particularly sustainable objects.
I mean, that is true. I mean, your people are still using bows and violins from hundreds of years ago, and they are still desirable. But this is something that people have to think about. And, as things break down, as it becomes harder to transport certain things, and, not to mention the tariff of it all, and bring us back to the head of the Kennedy Center himself. But
Yikes.
this is truly a holistic problem. And once again, we're no longer an opera podcast, but a political one. So I guess we got to wrap this show up.
Good call. Bad call. On Opera Box Score.
Good call, bad call. That's how we end the show. Let's start with Oliver Camacho today.
YouTube TV. I did not choose it, but I ended up with it.
YouTube TV chose you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Matt.
So it's my current service, and Google is in a fight with Disney, and as a result, I don't get ABC and I don't get ESPN. Now, it's not yet an emergency. I can watch Abbott Elementary on Hulu, but
Owned by Disney.
Yes, but this week I missed watching George Stephanopoulos this week, which is one of my regular news diet. It's on my regular news diet, and I'm concerned that we're going to get to the Australian Open in January, and I won't have access to ESPN. I don't know what I'll do. I might have to fly to Australia and watch it live.
And, the real tragedy, of course, is that college football is also affected if you're not a tennis freak like Oliver. Matt Cummings.
Returning to a classic Matt Cummings Good Calls segment, I am pleased to announce for those of us who don't have to use YouTube for TV, but have been using it for near a decade to watch clips of Lisette Oropesa singing the Lucia Mad scene, you can join Oliver in his YouTube protest because last Friday on Halloween, one of the spookiest operas was released on the EuroArts disc, featuring not Lisette Oropesa as Lucia. So I have not actually gotten a chance to listen to this yet because I just stumbled across the press release in preparing for the show tonight. So tomorrow, I know what I'm going to be listening to during the day.
I mean, it can't be bad. It's Lisette Oropesa.
Exactly.
That is it for this week's edition of America's Talk Radio Show about opera. Make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Get your voice heard and find links to stuff we've talked about at our website, operaboxscore.com. That's also where you can put your money where our mouths are. Give back to the OBS using the Support the Team tab. Your announcer is Norm Waddell, your creative consultant is Oliver Camacho, and your audio editor is me. The executive producer of the OBS is George Cedarquist. For co-host Matt Cummings and guest Jeanine De Bique, I'm Weston Williams, asking you to continue the conversation about opera with a suggested price of $25. We're back with an all-new show next week when we go inside the huddle with tenor Victor Ryan Robertson. Plus, you get more opera headlines, more hot takes, and more environmentally conscious luthiers. Join us.